the players and the belief that they had among themselves, even if they just concluded the Nigerian Basketball League, which they actually lifted. I tell you, they are beaming with confidence. And for me, they want to write their own history out there. And that is why when they go out there, we want to make sure that at least they go out there and make a good statement, flying the flag of Nigeria. But then you will say that other teams such as Rwanda heading down to Qatar for preparation is a good one because they get to expose themselves with some of the good facilities out there to train with. Their players get to understand themselves better, and all of that. It's an added advantage to them, which for I think the Rivers Hoopers, they don't have that luxury of time and finance to go out to maybe countries such as Qatar or Dubai, anywhere else to start their own preparation. But then I believe with the spirit of Nigeria and the unity among the players, I strongly believe that the Hoopers will go out there and also do Nigeria proud.
All right, so keep our fingers crossed. So far, I think this will be, is it the 4th edition of the Basketball Africa League? No Nigerian team has been able to win this competition. The last time was Kwara Falcons that actually went down there and couldn't win a match. And they came back. River Supers, of course, they're on it once again. Can they get things done right, this time around? We keep our fingers crossed on that and see how River Supers, of course, will be able to go this time around. But let's talk tennis now, as Andy Murray earned his first win of the 2024 season with his superb performance to beat France Alexander Mula at the the Qatar Open first round, which ended in a 6-match losing streak, which ended in a 6-match losing streak with a 6-1-7-6 victory over the world number 75. A manic celebration showed what it meant to the 36-year-old, who also raised his arms in relief when reminded it was his first victory for the year. Murray ranked 50, plays 18-year-old Czech Jakub Masik in the second round. First victory for Andy Murray, and was a huge celebration for him.
It's a big relief for him. You needed to go back and watch the clips of that his celebration, which for me tells the whole story about how long it took him to be able to at least win a game this year. And for me, it was such a massive one for him. Looking at what he was able to achieve for himself, then trying to come back, you look as though there is a step back every now and then, not able to win games, not able to get back to his best, for me, the celebration, tells it all, what he has or what he feels within him out there. And I believe that with this, with such a celebration, I think it's going to gain more momentum, going forward. But then you talk about injury and the rest of the setback which he has actually suffered over the past year. Can he also continue to maintain this level of dominance? Just winning one game, you will say, okay, it's a morale booster for him, but can he also, replicate the same, form in his next game? Because for me, I think consistency should be the benchmark for someone as, him, who have also, been at the apex of it all. So I think he should also try to build on this victory going forward, because it will be very, very bad that after winning his first game for the first year, and in the second game when you expect him to build up on this very victory, you just go back to crumble. You look as though he's going to start from afresh again. But then I feel for me, with this win, is going to ginger him and give him the self-belief once more to bounce back to the player that we used to know of the past.
All right, let's see how it goes, of course, for the man Andy Murray. But away from that, Aryna Sabalenka's first appearance since winning the Australian Open ended in defeat by Croatia's Danik Vekic at the Dubai Tennis Championship. Sabalenka lost 12 of the last 13 games as Croatia's Vekic won 6-7, 6-3, 6-love in their second round match. Michael, this is not a very good start, for Aryna Sabalenka after winning the Australian Open.
Well, for me, I believe maybe she was still basking under the euphoria of winning the Australian Open, and she had to enjoy herself more than usual, and she failed to go back to the court to start training proper. I think for me, that is just the reason. I'll cut her some slack, because at least after winning such a big event, at least you needed to take time out to be able to enjoy yourself again, for me. And that is the reason why I say I'm going to cut her, a slack for this very one. But then I feel for me she should have done better, because there's a whole lot of hope reposed on her by her fans all over the world and tennis fans all over the world, for me, that she must also continue to set the standard, so that whenever she's called to duty, she can also deliver. It gives her fans, that confidence, and to always boast of her exploit. But when she begins to lose game at this first instance, where she's just coming back from winning the Australian Open, people will begin to raise some question. Is it that she won the Australian Open by fluke and all of that? But then, like I said, for me, I just want to cut her the slack. So let's see what she can be able to do in her next game before I can be able to judge her performance so far this season.
What does it take for a tennis player to be consistent? From what we've seen, at this point in time, what do you think it takes for one to be consistent? Because we always talk about the WTA being very much inconsistent, talking about the players. Even the ATP as well. Last time, Iga Swiatek was on fire. Eventually, of course, she dropped, though she's still the world #1. This time around, Aryna Sabalenka, after winning the Australian Open, she came back, of course, to lose her very first game after that particular victory. What do you think it's really, is involved? What do you think is involved, or what does it take for a player to maintain consistency?
For me, it's very, very simple. You need to be very dogged and show tenacity in whatever you do before you can be able to stay very consistent on the court, because and discipline as well, because it takes discipline for you to be very, very consistent in whatever field you find yourself, not just in table tennis. Discipline in the sense that you need to cut down on certain things that you used to do before. You have to forsake some of those things. These are the discipline aspect of it, that there are things you will naturally want to do, but you look back in your career and say, no, I want to maintain consistency, therefore I'm letting go of these habits. So I think discipline, tenacity are some of the things. Sacrifice, because you need to sacrifice a whole lot of things. Because if you don't sacrifice a whole lot of things, it may take, your attention away from the game that have made you so popular. And when you begin to take your attention away from that which you do, then I tell you, consistency will be outside of the equation. So it takes discipline, it takes tenacity, it takes sacrifice for you to be able to maintain consistency. And without these three things that I just mentioned, it will be very, very hard for you to be very, very consistent. So these are some of the things that players, and not just tennis players, like I said, in whatever field you find yourself, you need to stay disciplined. You need to stay very, very tenacious. You need to sacrifice before you can get the best out of yourself. And that is why you say, yes, I've made up for my mind for this. I've sacrificed a whole lot. Therefore, I don't want to let go of the reputation or the standard that I've set for myself. And these are the things that I feel tennis players need to do for them to be able to stay consistent, over time. But then again, if you don't do these three things that I mentioned, there are other players that are also aiming to get to your own heights. And if they continue to do these certain things, I tell you, they will definitely overtake you. If you don't stay if you don't stay disciplined, if you don't sacrifice, if you don't stay tenacious. And other players are hungry to get to that apex, and they were able to do some of these certain things, which for me are very, very keen for you to stay consistent on the court. These are some of the things that you will do if you truly want to stay at the apex for a very long time. If I tell you some of the sacrifices some of these sportsmen and women have sacrificed to get to the apex to where they are today, it will be very, very difficult for a layman to understand, or for you to be able to do that. But they do it because they have a target, that they set for themselves, that this is what they want to achieve, and this is what they want to get to, and be able to stay consistent. So for me, that is just it. Sacrifice, tenacity, and discipline. These are the things they need to do if they want to stay consistent for a quite long time.
Of course, we hope that a player like Arina Sabalenka, I've actually heard that, sacrifice tenacity. You have to be very, very disciplined, because I can't just imagine Arina Sabalenka coming down from winning the Australian Open and being beaten just like that. But world number one, Iga Swiatek, who took a Doha title last week, won 6-4, 6-4 against Sloane Stephens. While third seed Coco Gauff also progressed. Of course, Gauff, who turns 20 next month, won 6-1, 7-5 against Italy Elisabetta Cosarito. But it was far from straightforward to close out for the US Open champion. Gauff will face informed Czech Karolina Pliskova in the last 16, while Swiatek meets Ukraine's Elena Vitolina with the chance to avenge a defeat in the Wimbledon quarterfinals last year. The top 8 seed receive first round buys in Dubai. But in 2022 Wimbledon champion Elena Rybakina was among the hosts of WTA stars playing their opening match, of course, yesterday. Rybakina, who won a title in Abu Dhabi before finishing runner-up to Swiatek in Doha, dropped the first set against Victoria Azarenka, but won the second before the Belarusian had to quit through injury. The Kazakh fourth seed plays Poland Magdalena Frek next, while Verkic reward is a meeting with Romania's Sirona Secția. All right, those are the latest results, of course, we saw. But at this point, we'll call it, we'll have to take a break now, and when we'll come back from this break, I will bring you the latest about the Super Falcons of Nigeria. Talking about the Paris 2024 Olympic tickets, the Falcons, of course, will lock horns against the indomitable Lionesses of Cameroon to see if they can actually get the tickets at the end of the day. We'll talk about that one when we come back from this break. Please stay with us, we'll be right back.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
You human trafficker.
Honorable they are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
So no agreement with the EU, but
from the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and
welcome back. Steve Sport Extraordinary on Atlantic Television and Network, and of course, we're still bringing you the latest revolving around the water sports down here. Let's talk about the Super Falcons of Nigeria. As 9-time African champions, Nigeria will fly to Cameroon's industrial and economic capital, Douala. Today already they are there as we speak. All right, they will fly today, as they continue to search for a ticket to another appearance at the Women's Olympic Football Tournament after 16 years. The Super Falcons last participated at the Women's Olympic Football Tournament in China in 2008, when they lost by the odd goal to both Korea and Germany in Shenyang, and 3 goals to 1 to Brazil in Beijing to crash out at group stage. After eliminating Ethiopia in the second round of the series, the Super Falcons must now cross the Cameroonian hurdle to reach the final round of the African qualification series and throw down the cutlets to whichever opposition appears at that stage in 2 months' time. Michael, what do you make of this particular, encounter for the Super Falcons of Nigeria against the indomitable Lionesses of Cameroon?
Well, for me, I think it's going to be a very, very tough one for the Super Falcons. Tough one in the sense that it's been 16 years down the line last time when we qualified for the Olympic. I think for me, as a giant of Africa, it shouldn't take us such years for us to be in the Olympic. I think for me, it's a very bad one as a giant of Africa in football, because the Super Falcons, we are we've won the African Cup of Nations. We talk about female football about 9 good times. So we are a force to be reckoned with. Therefore, I see no reason why we should stay for 16 good years without qualifying for the Olympic game. I think for me it's a very poor one. But then, coming up against the Cameroonian girls out there, talking about the Lionesses, I think it's going to be a very difficult one. Difficult one in the sense that the Super Eagles, talking about the male counterpart, we had to meet the Cameroonians in the just concluded African Cup of Nations, and we defeated them. So their girls may want to take a pound of flesh, and that will spur them up to come up very strong against the Super Falcons. And again, the home crowd as well is another added advantage for them. These are some of the things that will play into their favor. But then, if you ask me, player-wise, I think we have the materials to get the job done and dusted. And again, boosted with the fact that Randy Waldrum will be coming back into the touchline after a long while, where he had to wait for a very long time to be able to sort out his issue with the NFF, thereby giving him a new contract. And of course, he's a coach that is at home with the girls. He understands the strength of the players as well. And looking at what he did with the girls in the just concluded Women World Cup, you agree with me that at least they did Africa proud, where we got to the round of 16 and they played against some of the big teams in the world with nobody giving them chance to even scale through the group stage. But then they went out there to prove so many bookmakers strong out there, defeating some of the big teams, even Australia as well. So for me, it's going to be a difficult task for us. But then, with the likes of Ajibade, Asisa Toshola, the rest of them, Ifoma or Numonu, I believe we have what it takes in our arsenal to go out there and get a positive result. But then, we must show that commitment. We must show that fighting spirit, because going away to win the Cameroonian side, who are also winning, ruining their loss to the Super Eagles in just a few weeks ago, they want to come up, to take a revenge for that very one. But for me, I strongly believe that with the Randy Waldrum, talking about the Super Falcons coach back on the touchline with his, friendly relationship with the players, I strongly want to say that we are good to go. We are going to go out there and show them the reason why we are giants of African football.
What do you make of the presence of Coach Randy Waldrum so far in the Super Falcons team? Do you think there have been, a difference since he took over the team?
Yes, of course. Just like I have posited that since Randy Waldrum came and took over the job, there seems to be this understanding between him and the players. you know, and that is one thing that we speak a volume, because as a manager or a gaffer of a certain team, if you are not at home with your players, the players won't be willing to give out their best. But as a coach, even if you are not tactically sound 100%, but then you are at home with the girls, you know, you chat with them, you share, they can walk to you and share their challenges to you, and you profile solution, tell them what to do. I mean, you make them feel, you know, loved, and by so doing, they will sacrifice everything in the pitch of play just to give you the result. So if you ask me, I think Randy Waldrum, since he took over the job, one thing that we can take away is that he has been able to cement a good relationship between him and the players, and for me, that is working for him, because you know, you have to have the support of your players to give you 100%, you know, display on the pitch of play. But if you are not at home with your players, then you find it very difficult to get the results. Sometimes some of the players conspire naturally just to get you booted out of the job. Why? Because you are not at home with them. We've seen it in different countries or in different teams, how the where players literally conspire, you know, just to, you know, sack a coach because of the fact that you see that the coach is not playing to their strength, you see that the coach is not at home with them, you see that the coach is too harsh with them, so you can't get the best out of such players. But with Randy Waldrum in the helms of affair, I tell you, the girls have made it very clear that, you know, they are at home with the coach, they understand the strength of the coach, and the coach as well understand their own feelings. So it makes the job very easy for Randy Waldrum. So if you ask me, I think he has been able to give 60% out of 100 since he took up the job.
Talking about, you know, managers, we hear that Algeria's Football Association has opted not to continue negotiation with Super Eagles coach Jesse Peseiro, and they are set to announce the likes of Vladimir Petrovic as the new head coach of the men's senior national team. So, yeah, from what we're seeing, they say they are tired of negotiating with Peseiro. Maybe he's not giving them listening ears despite the huge money offer, you know, to him. At this point in time, Jesse Peseiro, of course, maybe, what do you think might be the reason why Jesse Peseiro, of course, hasn't really taken this particular offer? $90,000 to $50,000 being paid by the NFF or for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Why does Peseiro not rush, you know, this particular huge amount of money?
For me, I think maybe it's as a result of passion for the Super Eagles, and of course, the Super Eagles is a bigger platform for him to express his, you know, coaching skills out there compared to the Algerian team, because, you know, getting to the final of the African Cup of Nations, where the Algerian team couldn't even make it past through the group stage, it tells you the difference between the Super Eagles and the Algerian team. So the Super Eagles team is a more bigger platform for him to express his coaching, you know, tactics to the world out there. I think for me that is one of the reasons. And again, I think again, passion and love for the Super Eagles is what I think is still keeping Jose Peseiro not to have jumped to, you know, jump the ship to take up that offer. Because, you know, even before the African Cup of Nations, when there was a rumor that he would be sacked courtesy of his, you know, unconvincing results since he took over the job, he quickly came to the renegotiation table to take a 20% cut out of his salary. He was earning $70,000, but, you know, he had to come and say, okay, I'm slashing my salary down to 50. Why? Because I want to win the African Cup of Nations with the Super Eagles. And of course, the NFF, or the body that be, they actually gave him a benchmark, setting a semi-final, you know, benchmark for him, that if he actually get to semi-final of the African Cup of Nations, then we might be thinking of retaining him. But he even went beyond the semi-final and got to the final, so it's an added advantage for him. And again, like I said, he made it clear that he wants to win the African Cup of Nations with the Super Eagles. For someone to take a cut of his salary from $70,000 to $50,000, it tells you that he has passion for the team, he has interest for the team, he has a love for the team, and that is why, you know, he was able to stay and took the Super Eagles to the African Cup of Nations. And you know, fortuitously, we got to the final. But then, if you ask me, is Coach Jose Peseiro that coach that the Algerian team need at this point in time. Looking at the kind of tactics he displayed with the arrays of stars that the Super Eagles boast of in this African Cup of Nations, I think no. Or because getting to the final of the African Cup of Nations, for me, I think it's just by fluke. It boils down to the brilliance of the players that, you know, were able to come to the occasion that took us to the final, and not about his tactical prowess. Because if you ask me personally, I think I'm very, very displeased. Displeased in the sense that he failed to take up the Algeria job, because I was one of those, you know, that is drumming the drum that Jose Pizarro should be let go, because that is not the caliber of coach that the Super Eagles need, you know, to be able to get the best out of the enormous talents, you know, of the players that we have presently. I tell you, in that final, it is the tactical rigidity of Jose Pizarro that caused us to lose that game. We had no business of, you know, playing second fiddle in the African Cup of Nations when we got to the final. How can you sit deep, defending from the blast of the whistle down to the last minute of the whistle? You were defending. Is that the kind of negative football that the Super Eagles is known for? Down from the Green Eagles, I'm not sure that there is any coach, even the worst of the coach that Super Eagles have employed, have never played such a defensive and very, very negative kind of football. I could remember one of the worst, some of the bad coaches we employed in time past. His name was Las Lagerback. Even Las Lagerback, you know, was not so defensively minded, just the way Jose Pizarro is. And if you check the history of the Super Eagles, we are not known of such negative pattern of football. We are known as the Samba of Africa because of the way we are able to knock our game. We hold grip of the midfield, the flanks, we are there. We produce some of the greatest and best strikers in Africa. The likes of Rashidi Yekini, Daniel Dibu Amokachi. You know, these are strikers that, you know, when the Super Eagles, if we lose a match, it will not be boiled down to the tactical ineptitude of the coach. But sometimes, you know, in football, it's either you win, lose, or draw. But most of the time, you will be at least a little bit consoled in the sense that your team played well. It's just that it wasn't their day. But looking at the pattern of Jose Pizarro, from the first game we played against Equatorial Guinea, my brother, there was nothing to write home about. We continued to defend. I tell you, if we play that kind of defensive pattern we played against Ivory Coast in the final, if we meet an European team such as Argentina, Croatia, Germany, England, my brother, they are going to dismantle us by 7 goals to nothing, I tell you, because when you are defending, you are piling pressure to yourself. So for me, Jose Pizarro not you know, picking up that job, I think is the greatest undoing to himself, because you cannot allow $19,000 to go in place of $50,000. Look at it.
But talking about the NFF, I think, you know, if they want to increase his contract, or if they want to renew his contract, they would definitely increase the money, because the man actually surpassed the expectation or his targets in the African Cup of Nations. Even took the team to the final and then came back with, I think, over 5 billion naira. So if you want to, if the NFF want to, you know, renew his contract, they would definitely, of course, increase his salary.
But I tell you, it will not be up to $90,000.
Might not be up to. Maybe they might take it back to 70.
Not even might be. They can't increase it more than 70. And if you take 70 and 90, who is at loss? He's still at loss. So I think one of the major reasons why I think he refused to take up the offer is that he knows that he doesn't have what it takes, you know, to be able to build that Algeria team like the one we saw in 2019 that won the African Cup of Nations. He doesn't have what it takes. And you know, these North African countries, they don't have such patience the way Nigerians have. I tell you, Nigeria is one of the peaceful countries in the whole world, that despite the challenges we are passing through, we still find a way to accommodate, to show love, not letting our anger to get the best out of us. But these North Africans, my brother, they don't show much patience just like the way we do. And I guess that is the reason why Jose Pizarro don't want to take up that you know, job, because he knows that he doesn't have what it takes to be able to build that team, to be able to give them exactly what they want. And by so doing, in less than 6 months time, if he doesn't get the job done and dusted the way they want it, I tell you, their fans will not allow him to rest. We have seen some of them in social media even threatening the coaches and staffs as well. So he can't actually survive in that terrain. And I guess for me, he's very, very wise and very tactical, very crafty. That is why he just remained mute. He didn't want to say anything because he knows that he doesn't have what it takes to, deliver in that mandate. And that is why he's staying put, waiting whether the NFF is going to offer him a new contract, which for me, I will re-emphasize that Jose Pizarro is not a coach that can be able to get the best of the players, the crop of players that Super Eagles have right now. Looking at his tactical, prowess, what he showed in the just concluded African Cup of Nations.
All right, let's quickly stay away from that as we talk about, the Premier League. Michael, it's really been, an interesting, title race in the Premier League as we've seen Liverpool, Manchester City, and Arsenal, of course, really going toe-to-toe this time. Just 1 point differentiating, the three teams in the top of the table. What do you make of it? What do you make of the title race? Who do you think will come up top at the end of the day?
For me, I think in the title race, talking about the EPL title race, is going to go down to the wire, to the last day of, the EPL matches. We just have less than about 13 matches to go. And it's just 1 point that is separating the three teams that are also in the front row for this title race this season. Liverpool, Manchester City, and Arsenal. Arsenal, for me, they have what it takes, to lift this very one, because I know they've also taken a look at what they did last season, where they actually, bottled the league, and they were very, very angry because of the way and manner they had to, relinquish the title to Manchester City last season. And because of that, they went to the market to beef their squad, gotten the likes of Jurgen Timber, Declan Rice, Kai Havertz, and of course, they'll be firing from all cylinders. Just in their last 2 games, they've been able to score 11 goals. It tells you how massive, the Arsenal squad is this time around. So, but if you ask me, it's left for Arsenal to be very, very clear on what they want. They need to be very, very clear. It's either they want the league or the Champions League. And of course, it's 6 years down the line when they came down to the Champions League. This time around, they are in the Champions League. They are in the round of 16. They'll be playing against Porto tonight. So, if you ask me, Arsenal need to prioritize what they actually want for the season, because if they are chasing the Champions League and the league in all front, I tell you they are going to lose the league. It's either they want the league, then they should focus their effort on lifting the league. But if they chase the league and the Champions League, I tell you, the league is going to slip off their hand, because Liverpool, a certain Jurgen Klopp, is going to retire, from Liverpool this season. And of course, they've already started the documentary for Jurgen Klopp. And you know what it means? He want to live on a high note. And the players are right behind him to ensure that they give him the needed support to ensure that he lifts all these 3 trophies, or 4, if I'm not mistaken, that they are gunning for this season. And for Manchester City, it is also a difficult call for you to sit down here and say, yes, Manchester City doesn't have what it takes, to lift the league again this season. If you do that, you're going to do that at your own peril, because Manchester City is a team that can do the undoable any day, anytime. So if you ask me, I don't think that, any of this team is highly favored. They are all in the same pedestal gunning for the league. And that is why I say it's going to be, boiled down to the last day of the league. And it's going to boil down to who wants it most. Is it Manchester City? Is it Liverpool? Or is it Arsenal?
All right, let's see how it goes. But tonight we'll see some UEFA Champions League matches. Yesterday we saw Inter Milan, of course, going past, of course, their opponents, and also saw another, encounter yesterday as well, as we saw Dortmund, of course, having that, clash. But tonight, just like I said, we'll see Arsenal against FC Porto, and of course, Barcelona will be national against Napoli. Michael, that's an interesting fixture. Barcelona against Napoli. Where do you think the pendulum will swing to?
My head is telling me that it's going to swing in favor of Barcelona, but my heart is also telling me that Napoli might possibly cause an upset at Camp Nou tonight. But then it is football; anything at all can happen. We say yes, Napoli is not doing quite well in the league. seated ninth on the log right now, having sacked about 3 coaches. You know, it's going to be a difficult night for them at Camp Nou. So I think it's going to be a 50-50 game.
All right, at this point, we call it a wrap. Of course, we'll be back tomorrow by 9 a.m. to take a look at the results of the UEFA Champions League matches tonight. Special thanks to Michael for doing justice to the stories on the show today.
Always a pleasure doing this with you. Don't
forget, please, you're going to tell what the pathways to progress. My name is Kingsley Emmanuel. Thanks for watching.